It's catching fire with everyone. Indian fever. You can be more fun. Know the winner at every game. That's where the excitement begins. So catch Indian fever. Be a believer with the Cleveland Indians.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the January 9th, 2019 Lake County Sentinel Podcast. I'm your host, Tim Shirer, publisher and sports editor of the Lake County Sentinel. We'll be with you for a half hour. We'll talk sports for 15 minutes, and then we'll talk news and politics of the day for 15 more minutes. We got a lot ahead tonight. There's been a few things going on in sports lately, and I think that, obviously some of the bigger things demand some of our attention, and we'll get to those and we'll talk about them. I think that we have a lot of exciting things going on in Cleveland. The Cavs play tonight, the Monsters, the Icebreakers, the men are Icebreakers. Tribefest is on Saturday. And, these are some exciting things going on in town. I know you probably won't hear much about them any other place. You'll hear about them here, though. We talk about all of the Cleveland sports and all of the Lake County sports. We don't just talk about one team like a lot of radio stations do in Cleveland and a lot of news outlets do in Cleveland. We talk about all of the teams. We try to give a little airtime to every team every night. Unlike, some stations that talk about the same team 24 hours a day, every day of the year, and ignore the other teams in Cleveland. So, as I said at the outset, we've got things to talk about. We're going to talk the Cavs are now 8-33. They do have the worst record in the NBA. And they travel to New Orleans tonight to face the Pelicans. They got buried by them at the Q last week. Hopefully tonight's game will be a little closer. After the first quarter, they didn't play badly against the Pacers last night, but you have a terrible first quarter and you're down by 20, you're probably going to lose the game. So that's, with that being said, the Cavs are pretty much looking at the lottery. They're on pace at this time to win 16 games and lose 66, which is not good. It would be the second worst record in team history, and it would earn them probably one of the top 3 picks in the NBA draft next June. We'll move on now to the Cleveland Monsters. They're in action tonight at 7:00 in Belleville, Ontario, against the Beleville Senators. The Monsters currently reside in 4th place of the Northern Division of the American League. And the Belleville Senators are also in the Northern Division of the American League, and they have 34 points. So hopefully this is a game the Monsters can go in, win, and get out of there with 2 points. I mean, it's a close race at the top of the division. There's not a lot of points separating 1st through 4th. I believe I think there's only 12 points separating 1st through 8th. So, and I think maybe it's more than that. I think the Monsters, I believe, are 7 points out of 1st place, and Belleville, who's in 8th place, is only 12 points out of 1st. So there's a lot of time left in the season, and the Monsters hopefully can, move into one of the top spots and get a good playoff matchup. It's not a guarantee they'll make the playoffs, but hopefully they'll get a good playoff matchup. And then we're going to move on to the Mentor Icebreakers, they're at home Friday night against the Port Huron Prowlers. The Icebreakers currently reside in last place of the Franklin Hockey League. They are, they're an expansion team. They have 19 points. They're playing Port Huron tonight, who's one ahead of them in 5th place, and they have 29 points. So there's a big gap between 5th place and 6th place. So it's probably a good possibility the Icebreakers will end up in last place. They have improved as the year's gone on. They picked up some guys, but it's not, it's not looking too good right now being there, an expansion team. When you're an expansion team, it's tough. I don't care who it is. It's tough. So there's that with the Icebreakers. They don't play until Friday, though, a couple days from now. And then what we have is the Indians have Tribefest this weekend. Friday night will be for season ticket holders. Saturday will be for the general public. It opens up at 8:30 on Saturday. It's at the Cleveland Convention Center. They're going to go over a bunch of stuff. They got 9 a.m. They're going to have State of the Franchise, where Terry Francona, Chris Antonetti, and Tom Hamilton will talk to the fans about the state of the franchise. And then at 9:30, there's going to be a Q&A with Francisco Lindor, Tyler Naquin, Cody Anderson, Dan Otero, and Tom Hamilton. And then at 10:15, there's going to be a subject or a segment. It will be called Say What. Will feature Mike Clevenger, Trevor Bauer, Shane Bieber, and Bobby Bradley. Bobby Bradley is a name you're going to hear a lot about, people. He's a power-hitting first baseman, and he's going to probably be on the Indians at some point this year, if not out of spring training. I think that's why they were able to get rid of Encarnacion and Yonder Alonso. Bobby Bradley, he's in the picture now. So he's somebody you might want to go down there and meet. He's a good guy. I covered him in Lake County. Really, really, really nice kid. Very respectful kid. Can hit for power. Would have broke the captain's home run record if he hadn't got called up with about 2 weeks left in the season. I believe he fell one short. So, but Bobby Bradley, he has power, people. He's a power-hitting first baseman, just what you need. It's a pretty good glove, too. Nothing spectacular, but pretty good. And then you have at 10:50, Adam Simber will be on. 11:30, there'll be a segment called Heads Up with Nick Goody, Jordan Luplow, and Tyler Olson. At noon, they're going to have the Key Bank Deal or No Deal. So that should be fun. Just something fun to, a fun game to play to break things up and have a good time. 12:30 to 1:30, there'll be a break. And then from 1:30 to 6:45, that schedule will repeat again. Some of the guests on some of the shows will be different. In the State of the Franchise, it'll just be Mike Chernoff and Terry Francona. Antonetti will not be at this one. In the Q&A at 2:15 with Trevor Bauer, it's going to be Trevor Bauer, and his guests will be Jake Bowers, Carlos Carrasco, Carlos Santana, who's returning, and Jim Rosenhaus. Then at 2:50, the Indians are going to present the Wahoo Player of the Year Award. And at 3 o'clock, it'll be Say What with Francisco Lindor, Eric Haas, and Adam Simber. At 3 o'clock, 3:30, Mike Clevenger will be on. At 4:15, it will be Minute to Win It. And that will be with Adam Plutko, Danny Salazar, John Edwards, and Carlos Carrasco. There's going to be an Indians history presentation with Jeremy Fedor at 4:45. At 5:30, Greg Allen and Tyler Olson will take part in Pictionary. At 6 o'clock, there's going to be an alumni roundtable with Kenny Lofton, Carlos Baerga, and Lenny Barker. And then they'll finish it off with the Deal or No Deal. And then there's lots of kids' activities that will go on all day long from 8:30 in the morning until it closes at 7 o'clock. Tons for the kids to do. It's a great family event. You know, you don't even have to worry about your kids getting sworn at this. You don't have to worry about your kids encountering a drunk. You know, this doesn't take place in the Muni lot. This takes place in Cleveland Convention Center, a much safer place. So it's a great event that the Indians do. And I just hope people show up for it because, you know, the Indians have only been in the playoffs, 4 of the last 6 years. Well, the other team in town that seems to get all the attention has not made the playoffs in 16. So, but here's the schedule of people who are going to appear at Tribefest. We've got Greg Allen, Cody Anderson, Trevor Bauer, Jake Bowers, Shane Bieber, Bobby Bradley, Carlos Carrasco, Adam Simber, Mike Clevenger, John Edwards, Nick Goody, Eric Haas, Brad Hand, Corey Kluber, Francisco Lindor, Jordan Luplo, Leonese Martin, Tyler. It's great to see that Leonese Martin's going to be there. It's just awesome that he recovered. He almost died and he recovered. And he's going to be ready for spring training, and that's awesome. It's a great story right there. That's a good enough story for you to go down and just shake his hand and say, "We're glad you're back. We're glad you made it." Make the guy feel good. Let him know how Cleveland fans support a guy. Go down and see Leonese Martin. Shake his hand. Tell him he's an Indian, and you're glad that he's okay. Tyler Naquin, Tyler Olson, Dan Otero, Roberto Perez, newest Indian, Kevin Plawecki, the catcher they acquired for the Mets, Adam Plutko, Jose Ramirez, Jeffrey Rodriguez, Danny Salazar, Bradley Zimmer, and last but not least of the current players, Carlos Santana. And then you've got alumni, Carlos Baerga, Len Barker, Kenny Lofton, and of course the coaches and front office, Terry Francona, Carl Willis, Chris Antonetti, and Mike Chernoff. I mean, you can't beat that lineup. If you are a baseball fan and you love the Cleveland Indians, you got to be there on Saturday. It's a great event. So we'll finish out the segment we'll spend about a minute here, if that, probably not even, with the Browns hired Freddie Kitchen today. They let Gregg Williams go. They said, thanks for getting us 5-3 the last 8 games, but you're gone. We don't need you. We're going to go with Freddie Kitchens. Freddie Kitchens is a new head coach. And I have opinions on this hiring, and I'll talk about them at a later date. But also popular offensive line coach Bob Wiley was also let go. So I kind of wonder, what does that tell you about Freddie Kitchens? He don't want Bob Wiley around? Kind of makes me wonder. Why not? So we'll find out if this was a good move by the Browns. Of course, I'm sure Browns fans will be saying it's the greatest move ever. And, they'll buy into everything that the Cleveland media tells them. But I'm not so sure. We'll find out, though, won't we? That's the end of the sports segment. We'll be right back with news and politics. Okay, hello. Welcome back to the second half of tonight's Lake County Sentinel Podcast. I'm Tim Shirer, publisher of the Lake County Sentinel. We've got a couple topics to talk about tonight. Familiar topics, of course, but they are important topics. And so we'll discuss them. I also want to let you know, if you want to contact us via Twitter, you can get a hold of us at lcsentinel.com. That's on Twitter, or at Sports Sentinel on Twitter. Or you could check us out on Facebook, or you could check out our website at www.lakecountysentinel.com. That's www.lakecountysentinel, SENTINEL.com. Lake County's online source for news. So today, in the news and politics, we had our speech last night by Donald Trump. It wasn't very long. It was 8 or 9 minutes. It was over by 11 after. I'll give him credit for that. I like the short speech. The long speech, no. I like the short speech. It's about the only thing I'll give him credit for. You didn't bore us for a half hour or something. You know, you gave us 9 minutes, and that was good enough. I mean, 9 minutes of you is like 9 minutes of Donald Trump is like 45 minutes or an hour of a good president. It becomes torture after 9 minutes. But, you know, he lied as usual. He used fear, his fear tactics. You know, he just told untruths like he always does. Spun it, said that the Democrats agreed to a steel border wall, which they have not. He's a liar. Now, you know, that's just a blatant lie. You know, and the thing is, for the Democrats for him to say that the Democrats are causing this shutdown is a lie. It's a joke. He wants this money in there. That's the only thing that's holding up this. Everybody else has agreed to everything else in the budget. So obviously, he is the one holding up the government, not the Democrats. He's holding up the government by demanding his border wall, which is not needed. I saw a tweet from Adam Schiff today, and I thought it was very interesting that he just basically, you know, he serves on the Senate Intelligence Committee, and he's been on it for decades. And he had a very interesting tweet today, and it let me read it to you. Let me find it here and let me read it. And I think it's very interesting that what he said in this tweet. Here it is. Here it is right here. Adam Schiff. He's the representative. He represents the 28th Congressional District in California. He is the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. He's been on the House Intelligence Committee for 10 years. Okay. And here's what he tweeted today, or he tweeted it yesterday, actually. It says, he tweeted this at 11:31 on January 8th, 2019. I've been on the Intelligence Committee for over 10 years on terrorism and other threats. I've received more briefings from FBI, CIA, and DHS, Department of Homeland Security, than I could count. How many times have any of them said, we need a wall across the southern border? Zero. 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 None. He's on the Senate Intelligence Committee. He's been briefed who knows how many times? 10 years? He's probably been briefed 1,000 times. And they never said we need a wall at the southern border. Yet Trump supporters who have never, ever, 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 ever been briefed one time, the majority of them, 99.99% of them, have never been briefed by the FBI, the CIA, or Department of Homeland Security. None of them have ever been briefed. But they think they know more than Adam Schiff, who's been briefed probably 1,000 times. And they've never told him we need a border wall. It's amazing how they know more than the guy that is briefed regularly by these agencies. That's what a Trump supporter is. Ignore the truth, run with the hate. I still want to know why why they don't want a wall at the Canadian border. Like I said, I think we know why, but none of them will answer me. None of them will comment. None of them will say we need a wall at Canada. Of course we don't need a wall at Canada. White people live in Canada. In their little small minds, that's what they think. If they're white, they're not bad. If they have brown skin, they're bad. That's what the racist Trump supporter thinks. Not every one of them, but a large majority. His base, his hardened base, is made up of racists. So no matter what he says, they're going to believe him. Even if the head of the Senate Intelligence Committee says he's never been briefed that we need a border wall, they're going to continue to believe that we do, because Donald Trump lies to them and tells them that we do. Plays into their hate. And then he plays into fears by naming and listing 3 or 4 different incidents where illegals killed people. How many illegal aliens came in from Canada and killed people? How come he's not fighting for that? We got the 911 terrorists, for one. They came in from Canada, and they killed a few people, I would say, didn't they? Thousands of people. But he's not worried about those people. He's worried about the brown illegal aliens. Or the, as they like to say, the Muslims. Yeah. That's what they're worried about, because those are bad people. Let me tell you something. Hateful Christian right-wingers. You guys are just as bad as the Muslims that you hate. Because you know what? You kill abortion doctors. So you're murderers too. Just like the Muslims you seem to hate. You're murderers too. If you're going to say they're all murderers, I'm going to say you're all murderers, because you've killed abortion doctors. You've blown them up. You've out and out murdered them. So all Christians are murderers too, because you're trying to say and put the fear of people that all Muslims are bad. That's all you do. You rule in fear. It's ridiculous. You know, Paul Manafort, more is coming out about him, that he gave information to the Russians, polling information to the Russians that they could use. I mean, if you're going to still sit there, Trump supporters, and tell me that there wasn't collusion from the Trump campaign with Russia, you're nuts. You're crazy. There was absolutely collusion. And we haven't heard yet. There's not been an indictment come down yet that Trump was directly involved. But I'll bet you his kids are going to get indicted. I'll bet you his son, 2 sons, and Jared Kushner get indicted. I'll bet you. I wouldn't be surprised. It wouldn't shock me one bit. I think Trump could get indicted too. especially if he directed the payments to Stormy Daniels. He's going to get indicted too then. Campaign financing laws, you can't break them. You're going to get in trouble for those. People have gotten in trouble for those on both sides. You can't run from campaign finance breaking those laws. You get nailed for those. Many politicians have gotten nailed for those on both sides of the aisle. I'm not saying that the Democrats haven't gotten in trouble for that, because they have. But this is the president of the United States breaking the laws. But his supporters don't seem to care if he breaks laws. They cared if Clinton broke laws. They cared if they thought Clinton broke laws, even though he was never convicted of anything. They'd make stuff up about him. But when there's facts that Trump and his campaign broke laws, well, it's okay. We can't really judge them for that. That was before he was president. But of course, it was before Clinton was president. There's something there. We ought to investigate this. They are the biggest hypocrites. Trump supporters are just the biggest hypocrites that ever walked the face of the earth. I've said it before, and I'll continue to say it. That they're just hypocrites. I'm just looking at my notepad here, and I totally wrote the stock market numbers in a different spot than I wanted to write them. It makes no sense where I wrote them either. And I like to have a record of it, so I can give you guys accurate facts, about it each day. I don't want to give the wrong facts about it, but let's move on there to the stock market. And what we got here is the market went up today. It was good. It closed up 91.67 points to close at 23,879.12. And the stock market now, since Donald Trump became president, is at has gone up 3,711.02. The stock market at this same point of time under Barack Obama went up 3,823.7. So still at this point of their presidencies, Barack Obama was a better president for the stock market. And let's not forget that the stock market was much lower when Obama took the presidency. So the fact that went up 3,823 is a much bigger jump than 3,711, because the stock market was just under 20,000 when Trump took over. It went up 11,000 points during Obama's presidency. 11,000 points. Okay? We're not on the pace for it to go up that much during Trump's 4 years. So, once again, we talk the stock market and we break the myth that Republicans are better for the economy, which we know they're not. I can't wait to see the job numbers. At the beginning of February. There's where he's going to have to shut his mouth, or they'll say the numbers are fake again. But that's the end of the podcast for tonight. We'll be back tomorrow night at 7 o'clock with you. I hope everybody has a good night, and go Cavs.